Hello, members of Midnight TCG. This is Midnight Fox coming to you with this week's Competitive Edge podcast. This week I have Jinzaki with me. Say hello.
Hi.
And I have Kyo with me.
Hi.
I wasn't supposed to hear from you until I was out of Florida.
Well, this week we're going to be talking about beasts, and Fox decided to switch up our podcast a little bit, take it a little different angle, see what kind of reaction we get back from the audience. So,
We have an audience.
yes, we have an audience. They watch.
I am your audience.
So our one listener is with us now, so we can get our feedback right here.
Oh gosh, why does that remind?
Beasts.
Why am I thinking all of a sudden of Revenge of the Nerds? So, anyways, oh, this week I'm going to host the podcast and kind of banter back and forth with my other counterparts. So, our first question of the night, starting with Jen, what's your thoughts on beasts as an overall type in the game?
There's a type called beasts that
Yeah.
aren't warriors. Now, as we were talking about before, I don't. My opinion of beasts is that currently I haven't seen a viable deck that could be called a beast deck. I've seen beast focus decks, but nothing thoroughly beast. I look at them as a support archetype. You see beasts spread in your big archetypes like Lightsworn, Wind Up, X Saber. You just see them dotted around Glad Beasts, obviously, and they're just there to lay down some very useful effects, and they're good at that.
You know, the sad thing is when you speak of it in that terms, one synchro monster I distinctly remember that I watched on the anime that I was looking forward to revolved around beasts, and he never really took off. Who here remembers Z-Man the Ape King?
I remember
Me.
them.
Yeah,
But
that's a good episode.
he mainly revolved around beasts, but very hard to get out. But definitely, if you could get him out, he could change the tide of a game. So, what other thoughts you got on beasts? You got to have more than just supporters.
No, that's it. I'm looking. The closest thing, probably this would be the only solid beast deck I can think of is the Moja deck. Ojama's in a pinch, but those are definitely niche decks that you got to put a lot of thought and care into to make them work properly. Nothing overly meta about them.
True. What about you, Kia? What's your thoughts on beasts as an overall type?
As an overall type, unless you really go into like one archetype, for example, like Gin said, Moja, not Moja, sorry, Ojama, then there's some support to that archetype. But overall, this doesn't have much spell and trap support. They'll self-support themselves through their monster effect. So as example is Green Baboon, the defender of the forest. That's one of the example. So overall, they are good archetype, but they need to rely on other archetypes to work better in current meta.
Basically, yeah, they need to rely. I think my thoughts on beasts as an overall type is that they're not horrible. I want to sort of agree with Jen on the fact that they are support. Back in the day, before synchros and Xyz monsters, beasts could have possibly been thought of as a meta deck. You had lots of searchers like Giant Rat. You had lockdown engines with cards like King Tiger Wing Hu. there are so many ways they could have went at beasts, um, but never really did. So today's meta, I think they're too slow. Green baboon and yellow baboon are both good cards to rely to come back on as supporters of beasts, but overall, just with the speed of synchros and xyzs and how easily they're summoned in today's meta, they're unreliable, especially considering most of our synchros and xyzs are getting these big, powerful stats that run over even Green Baboon. I can remember when Green Baboon used to go for a huge amount of money just because of his revival effect. So the next question, Jen, what do you think are some helpful beasts in today's meta?
In today's meta, Rescue Rabbit is the first card that comes to mind because of it's the basis of an entire deck type. You've got Rabbit Dinos looking to make Lagia and Dolka. Um, got I believe you run Rabbit Fish. It
Rabbit,
just
water rabbits.
water rabbits. Yeah, anything with that has some good 4-star monsters that can be splashed in is a viable candidate for a rabbit deck. Um, Obviously, if you're anything will can use Raikou, get your destruction and deck thinning going automatically with him. Um, Obviously, Giant Rat's still useful. Um, Super nimble Mega Hamster. Fun to say and fun card to use.
I want to
Um,
kind of elaborate on your first two picks on the fact Rabbit, like you said, he's an all purpose card. When he first came out, a lot of people were just intent on Dino Rabbit, but there are a lot of good vanilla monsters out there, and if you can find the right way to run it, like my newest deck that I've been running is Water Rabbit, and there are 9 monsters that I can pull from an arsenal that are 1800 or above, level 4s, and they're easy to get out with Rabbit. So, Rabbit, everybody spent the last meta just concentrating on the dino part, but I think he has unlimited potential that's eventually going to land him on the ban list as people start to explore more options with Rabbit. And when you talk about Rico, he's definitely a card that can go into many decks. Light Sworns, first one that comes to mind, of course, because he was released for Light Sworns for his mill effect and his destruction effect, but also he can be put into decks like Piper Chaos. He's good fodder to bring back with Junk Synchron, and plus you get destruction. He's a low level monster, so he works well in that deck. And also, I run him in my Synchron deck just for the destruction and because it's called Chaos in the Junkyard. So dropping my lights and darks into the graveyard is not a horrible thing. So I look forward to the mail and I can use the destruction along with it. So sorry to cut you off there. I just want to give my thoughts on those two cards. Continue on with your helpful beasts.
well, the wind-ups have their own with Wind-Up Dog. Got the ability to put out a 3-star monster and make it a 5-star for a gives it a bit of flexibility with Ixie's summoning. Um, or Synchro, I guess. I don't think it has a limit on that. Um, Test Tiger for Gladiator Beasts because of the speed it warrants you. And on that note, Dark Soul for X Sabers because of the speed it warrants you. In fact, that used to be a fun loop you could pull to equip yourself with a bunch of good monsters until they made it so that you could only activate the effect of one Dark Soul per turn.
What was the first one that you mentioned? Dark Soul, I definitely agree. Oh, Test Tiger. That kind of brings me to one of my guys going into the combo with it. Everybody who remembers back in the Glad Beast era, Glad Beast Sam Knight. When he's special summoned by the effect of a Glad Beast, and he destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you get to add a Glad Beast from your deck to your hand. So he's a level 3. He's got 1600 attack. So he fit decently into that build. He comboed well with Test Tiger. And a lot of people have ventured to say that Glad Beasts are dead. I would venture to say Glad Beasts aren't dead. Just nobody's been inventive enough with all the new archetypes and Xyz monsters and everything getting spotlighted to make use out of the engine still available within Glad Beasts.
I do agree with you on that, Fox, because recently at my locals, a Glad Beast deck had reached top 8.
Glad Beasts, their ability to recycle into the deck is bar none, and they've got Heraclinos for locks, they've got Gyzaris for destruction, and they've got so many ways to manipulate the field with cards like Glad Beast War Chariot, Bestiari when he hits the field, even though he's limited to 1. And you could even splash Rescue Rabbit into that deck and pop out 2 Andals. If you got a Laquari out right there, you have your Heraclinos in 1 turn. So definitely, Glad Beasts, a lot of people say they're dead. I just think they're overlooked right now. So continue on, Jen.
That's about it for me.
All right, Keo, let's poke your mind about
Well, I don't exactly have much to add on, with the exception of Airballoon from the X-Saver series.
Definitely. I like not only his milling ability, but he's also a level 3. He's easily summoned back to the field with X-Saber. And in the meta right now we're in, where rank 3 Xyz monsters are powered like wind-up Zenmaines and its ability to stop destruction and on your side and then pop your opponent's side of the field is great. Then you look at Leviair being able to bring back a card from the Banished Zone, and Leviathan Dragon being able to drop a unit. He's 2500 attack that sticks. Asset Golem at 3000 attack with 2 level 3s. Definitely useful.
The other one would be useful, but not exactly very useful, is King Cavillo. As you can see, Chaos Bible deck is one of the examples. Another one.
Have to cover my card. But go on.
I'm sorry. And another deck which currently is quite popular is Relinquished Viper, with also using King Cavillo.
I love Kinkabillo for my Piper Chaos deck. Until Mystic Piper was released, he was an overlooked card. Until people found that engine that if you ran the right monsters like Effect Velers and Mystic Piper and Kinkabillo in a deck, you could get +1 draws and keep hand presence.
Yep. And a little archetype that not many people using now is Defable. They're all this in the deck, in that archetype. And why that they need to work with the Fable archetype, which is the Fiend archetype, to make use of the most of it, they have Fables Saberer, which can easily be special summoned back when you discard to a Wraith.
Hmm.
And it's a live monster too. And that's about it on my end about good beasts.
So I guess for me, helpful beasts. I kind of went into it. Some of mine were looking at Sam Knight. You know, like I said, glad beasts. They're not dead. They're waiting for someone to find a new way to abuse them. So Sam Knight, Kikabio, obviously in Piper Chaos, and like you said, can be used in a relinquished deck. If you play traditional, great way to get out Thousand Ice Restrict. Uh, let's see. One that everyone seems to have forgotten about, especially considering how much the Banish Zone has become useful in the game, is Bazoo.
The not beast warrior.
Bazoo the Soul Eater. You get to banish up to 3 monsters from your graveyard, and he gains 300 attack for each until your opponent's in phase. So he goes from being a 1600 monster to 19 or 22 or 25, depending on how many you want to remove. Like I said, with today's game, you know, when Light Sworns hit and Dark Arm Dragon, the graveyard became important. Now with like the light rays, the out of play is just as important. And with Burial from a Different Dimension and other cards that support that archetype, Bazoo is definitely a helpful beast that right now I think a lot of people aren't using. This deck has kind of died down as well, and I think that when the new fire monsters hit in the new structure deck, he's going to see more play as people will probably run Rekindling in high gear again. Flame Veil Fire Dog. Basically, he's a 1900 attacker. He has a low defense, only 200, but that's where Rekindling supports him. But when he destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you get to summon a fire monster with 200 or less defense from your deck, except Flame Veil Fire Dog. Which means if you're looking to build Xyz units, if you're looking to build Synchro monsters, if you're looking for an overpowered card like Light and Darkness Dragon, Flame Veil Fire Dog is going to be your guy to go to, and I really think that once the new fire structure deck hits, we'll probably see a lot more of him. And definitely want to say one that has dropped off the radar that could be, well, it could have been anti-meta in the past, but with so many beat sticks available in the game to now, it's not as powerful. Would have been King Tiger 2. 1700 attack, 1000 defense, and when a monster with 1400 or less attack is normal summon or special summon, you get to destroy it. So, other than him getting Book of Moon, you've got a monster that keeps control of your field, and if you're a fan of bottomless trap, force your opponent's hand into playing their high attack monsters. So that's the Fox's thoughts on some helpful beasts, because I've got some real treats for the next question. So let's go ahead and move on to that. So Jen, what beasts do you think are overlooked in today's meta?
I can find a lot that I think are completely overlooked. The one card I really wanted to mention here is an old favorite, and that is Neospacian Dark Panther. The ability to drop a monster and steal an effect of an opponent's monster can be pretty good given the circumstances. With
Especially with
Xyz,
cards, especially with cards like Torbus, where you get an effect from dropping that monster.
Yep. It But the obvious problem is a lot of the major effects you see in the meta today are Xyz monsters, and while at first glance stealing one of those effects would be awesome, your Neospacian Dark Panther doesn't have anything attached to it to detach for those effects, so it loses that. But yeah, I like that card. I wish I could use it more.
Come on, there's got to be more. I mean, even if you're looking at banned cards, because I know you were talking about it. Let's hear it.
Yeah, Rescue Cat. Can't really say it's overlooked because you can't look at it. Damn you, ban list. But yeah, it was the annoying Synchro Cat engine, the ability to drop Cat, gain two, I believe it was level 3 or lower beasts, or was it level 4 or lower, one of the two. And that worked well in a lot of decks, like Rescue Cat into 2 Test Tigers, Test Tiger into 2 Sam Knights, and boom, run their effects through, or Test Tigers or Rescue Cat into a Dark Soul and an Airbellum and instant Hunley, plus a search, obviously. So with Rescue Cat, you have a lot of beast plays to have fun with. If anything, it works well with Ixie as well. In the old days, you could have 2 Dark Souled into, say, a Leviath or Leviaire and get 2 searches. Now it's 1 search, but still, good day.
What about you, Keo? You got anything? Well, first gen, you got anything else?
Not really.
Okay. What about you, Keo?
Well, Keen probably already mentioned this before, but the card most often overlooked at this time is Giant Rat and Super Nimble Mega Hamster. Not many decks run them, even though they're really good cards that can easily help with your field position. With Giant Rat, not only it can summon a lot of Earth monster, which is useful, and Super Mega Hamster, it can summon Raikou and almost any beast type that you want. The only downside for it is just face down. And that's about it for the Overlook for me.
That's about it for the overlooked for you. Jeez. The Fox has a lot.
That's why I passed it to you.
That's why you pass it to me. Well, first of all, I
This
want to
is the
go.
section where we repeat each other.
No, actually, I'm going to go in a completely different direction than you guys on a lot. Feel free to chime in if you think of any I haven't covered as I go through. But I definitely think Berserk Gorilla is overlooked right now. He does have the effect where he does have to attack. He's able to. But with people being fond of skill drain, he can be a good tech card, and he's a 2,000 attack monster. So if you got skill drain out and he goes into face up defense, he still doesn't get destroyed, and you're not constrained to having to attack. So level 4 2,000 attack monster, definitely good, and in my opinion, overlooked. For fans of Burn, people seem to have forgotten of the cute little panda called Death Koala. Flip effect monster, 1800
Wouldn't
defense.
Koala be a koala, not a panda?
I'm about to say that.
But
We got no Gyaku Giri pandas in here.
He inflicts 400 damage to your opponent for each card in their hand. So if they're running a deck that recycles their hand continually, you've got the opportunity to do 2,000 or more damage by having them hit him. Plus, he's a dark monster, which means he's chaos food. Toss him in with 3 Ricos. Burn, destruction. Burn, destruction. And you've got cards sitting in there for Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Inn, or Chaos Sorcerer. So definitely one that I think is overlooked. Um, with people emptying their hands quicker, and I've actually started to see more people messing with Infernities again. Infernity Beast. He's a level 3 and 1600 attack. And if you attack while you have no cards in your hand, your opponent can't activate any spell or trap cards after the damage step. So there goes your opponent's hopes of destroying your monsters if you have an empty hand. So all you Infernity players, definitely, if you haven't taken a look at this card in a while, he's definitely something to look at. Again, he's a level 3, so if you're looking to go into rank 3s, it's really good. And I got just a couple more. One that I think is particularly overlooked, and I keep going into these level 3s. Yes, level 4s are great, like number 39, Utopia, and Shockmaster, Violon, Dice Sigma, One-Eyed Skill Gainer. But right now, what's pulling what you need mainly into your hand, out of the banished, from the graveyard, saving your
Private
plays,
Ryan.
is your rank 3s. Hyena. He's only 1,000 attack and 300 defense, but when he's sent to the graveyard by battle, you get to special summon all your hyenas. So it's easy to pop that little monster out there, let your opponent destroy it, and next turn you have a Zenmaines or a Leviair or a Leviathan Dragon. Uh, Photon Saber Tiger. I mean, what's there to say? He's a level 3. He gets to search out another Photon Saber Tiger. And once you get 2 of them out on the field, so set you a Call the Haunted. Normal summon your Photon Saber Tiger, search out the other one, call the Haunted that one back. You got out 2,000 attack level 3 monsters. There's lots of plays that could be made with that. And again, go back to Chaos Moon. Sorry, the Fox is a fan of Chaos. And I guess kind of to end out, overlooked, with people still being fans of elemental heroes, and with people overlooking cards like the Hexil fusions and all, I want to end out with Master of Oz. There's ways to substitute some of his material, use Elemental Hero Prisma, and he's a 4,200 vanilla fusion monster. 4,200 attack, 2,700 defense, and probably one of the more easily summoned fusion monsters in today's meta. But that's probably for another day. I don't see a whole lot of people going into like Master of Oz, but I wanted to give him a shout out. So, with that, we're going to go on to Jen. What are some of the best beast decks you remember? Maybe not just beasts in particular, maybe decks that have beast support that ran a lot of beasts within them to make them run effectively.
Well, as I said, I'm a big fan, and I was working on building a variant of the Synchro Cat deck around the time it got banned, and I was really irritated because it was obviously X-Saber variant deck. Drop your cat, get your beast type sabers, because I bring that one up because it's a definite switch over from what I use now, because my X-Saber deck now is very warrior focused. It's still got the Dark Souls because they're useful, but I dropped the Airbellum because of their tendency to get smashed by Bottomless.
Well, I think that's where Cat actually found its way onto the ban list, is they didn't think of it so much as a threat with just Glad Beast, but when you had Glad Beasts and X Sabers that could abuse the deck, they dropped Cat. I can't say I wasn't disappointed to see the cute little kitty go too, but he could pack quite a punch in today's meta.
Yes, he could. But and like I said, because of the cat's disappearance, Airbellum has also dropped a lot of play because you got your full Helm Knight able to do some similarly funky stuff, but without the fear of that bottomless trap hole. But yeah, Synchro Cat, fun deck. I still have a deck list for a variant sitting around that I would like to use if it ever becomes unbanned.
Was he never?
Maybe, maybe not.
There's too many bits now, especially with the Fable.
I think it depends on the power creep of the game. It could always get to a point where there's no reason to keep it banned anymore. But then again, that same reason would make it not worthwhile to run the deck.
Yeah.
So, anything else to add on to that, Jen?
Um, no, it's a
What
good
about you,
fun deck.
Kyo?
Well, like I have been going all along. The only thing I know that the best are the Mocha deck, or Jama deck, or the Fable only deck. Those are the popular best type that I know nowadays.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm gonna have to go back to Glad Beasts. Highly, there were a lot of beasts within that deck, and like I said, I still think they're very viable in the game today. And I mentioned Mr. Ojama to you, but until the release of Red, Blue, and Country, they never saw a whole lot of play outside of playing the trap Ojama Trio. But the Ojamas and the ability with Knights and King and to be able to flip attack and defense can be a game changer, especially when you're facing beat sticks with low defenses. I think Ojamas are highly overlooked. They do still have swarm ability, and if you run them in a pure beast build with like solidarity, it can be a very viable deck that's overlooked. So, I think that about covers my thoughts on beast decks. So we're going to go to our Q&A in the shout box. And so the first question, and I'll pass this to each of you before I answer mine. Nomad says, why don't people run Light and Darkness Dragon anymore? What do you think, Jen?
I don't think it's that the cards being overlooked. I think it's just the super abusive engines that have come around lately with the loops and injectors and windups and the abuse of Dino Rabbit have just pushed it out of the limelight for a little while. I think it will return, and it will return with a vengeance because it is a good card.
What about you, Keo?
The only deck that I can see as viable to run it is a Frog deck, because they can easily summon it back. Other than that, it's not that it's not good, it's just it's hard to get out, depending on what deck you're running.
I'm going to say when I play on Dueling Network, I wouldn't say it's not run anymore. It is run with, like you said, Frognarks. And I think a lot of the reason it left the limelight is a lot of people don't think of things like just a quick Book of Moon. And then you reset his 2,800 attack. A lot of people, I think, lost interest in the fact that your opponent could just drain him and drain him and drain him and drain him and destroy him. But number one, they're draining their hand. Number two, so you're going to have hand advantage. Number two, if he does get destroyed, yes, you have to blow up everything on your field, But if you're running Frognarks, you don't want a whole lot in your spell and trap zone, and you're probably not going to set up a whole lot in your monster zone because you are going to want to save it for that light and darkness dragon. But playing it with a card like Book of Moon, get him down to where he's nothing, and then book him and flip him back up on your own turn. And then he resets at 2,800. He's still viable, just not played a whole lot outside of Frognarks. And our next one comes from Nomad. What makes The Walking Dead the best show on television right now? Jen?
Oh, that's easy. It isn't. I really don't know. I don't watch a whole lot of TV anymore.
What about you, Keo?
I haven't watched it yet, so can't say it's the best until I watch it.
Oh, there we go. We got the trio. The Fox never watches it either, actually. I finished up quite a few series, watching from the beginning True Blood, House, Law and Order, SVU, and now I'm getting ready to start looking into Dexter. Maybe eventually I'll get to Walking Dead, but I can't say that I think it's the best show on television right now.
Yeah, given that television has it's not running at the moment, but they're working on the next season of the BBC's Sherlock series. I put that one as the best show on the air today. Good 2-hour episodes of awesome.
Our next one comes from Nomad again. I think he likes to be a jokester when he's not on the podcast with us. Why do people continually remain unprepared for winter?
Oh, that's easy. We didn't have a winter last year, so we're kind of used to it not being here already. It's like, okay, we just don't have winter anymore. It doesn't snow.
Let's say that if it's winter during July until September, it's not really winter, so there's no reason to prepare for it.
I have to stick with Jen on that. We're pretty close in proximity to where we live, and last year was a dud as far as winter was concerned, and this year's kind of shaping up to look the same. It's been
Dang you Australians with your nicest beaches in the world.
With shark.
with
Sharks and jelly. You've got nice looking beaches. I'd never want to swim there. There's so many ways I could die painfully.
Just watching.
The next one comes from Nomad. How would you solve the endless debate over which is better between Dodge, Ford, and Chevy through the means of Yu-Gi-Oh?
Paint the Dark Magician on a Mitsubishi Lancer and then drive around going, haters gonna hate.
What about you, Keo?
I have no clue what Dodge is, but I do know Ford and Chevy, so... But I don't know anything about cars, so I pass.
You know what? Through the means of Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm going to say open up to all three of them to who wants to have their name endorsed on the Geargiant deck. And there you go. Whoever pays for it, they're best. Personally, I drive a Dodge Durango. But that's just because of room, but it's a gas hog. But so, kind of in summation, I hope been a little more entertaining tonight. I think we've been a lot more informative. Definitely make sure you watch out Thursday for the Flash tournament. Of course, you get the idea of what it's going to be over, but you never know what twist I'm going to throw in because I've thrown some doozies. A few weeks ago, some of our people will remember I made people take sea serpents and then half of their deck had to contain non-sea serpent. Worst card of the week, 5 of them. Worst and card of the week, 5 of them. and mix them into a sea serpent deck. But that was one of my meaner weeks.
It was fun.
I was feeling inventive. But the trick to that was that you could have sided an entire sea serpent side deck in and went completely sea serpents. The fox always has a trick up his sleeve, but you can find ways to abuse it if you play it right. So just because you think, well, this deck
Quick, abuse the fox's sleeves.
He
just
doesn't have sleeves.
just because you think it's not going to work, don't completely go on that because you could find a way around it. I have what's set when you first submit your deck, but what you do with your side deck, unless I constrain what you do there, is up to you. So always be thinking. And I do the flash tournaments the way I do to get people thinking outside of the box and not, I have to play this meta card and that meta card. And that's what keeps them interesting, I think. Last thing I want to go over, other than welcoming Der Grossman into the Cardfight Vanguard area. He will be giving us updates on that game and welcoming Thought Mage onto the Magic area would be in our gaming section. The White Rose is holding a Minecraft event, and you'll see it on our front page. And it's calling for a miracle. It's going to be December 22nd, December 23rd, and basically they're trying to get people to play Minecraft and doing it for a good cause, trying to raise funds to put game systems in children's hospitals and stuff. So kids who are stuck in a hospital over Christmas aren't bored. I mean, that's a really good cause. Midnight TCG, we also have our causes we're working on, but definitely give that a look if you're a Minecraft player. But with that said, that would be the end of the Competitive Edge podcast, and